it is day 27 and I'm going to work a little bit more on my snippet roll. Kind of floundered a bit about what I was going to do. It's been a long day. It's after 4 o'clock now and I just need to do something. So I've decided to grab this box that was my original bucket of not precious items, and it is a tin that I won from Mad Fox Studios, full of, it had other things in it that I've since pulled out, but all kinds of yummy ephemera, tickets, and just fabulous little things that I have deemed too precious to put in other projects. So I think I'm going to add it to this, but I want to make sure I don't do anything that's too super thick. Like these tickets are perfect because they're not nice and pliable. Some of them are a little, I don't know, too thick. This here could be perfect. In that same vein, I thought about maybe some stickers that I've had saved in my stash. And then fat laces, I've got all kinds of bits of laces, a ruffle I made for my altered board book. I have rickrack and hem tape and bias tape and all of these things that are in my stash that I have been saving. So, I also, this little packet of just tiny snippets of fabric and lace and stuff like that has been too precious to throw away, that I have stuffed it in here, and it is the perfect thing to maybe go in here. So I may actually start with that and start adding things. So I'm not sure how I'm going to add some of these. I may use my pin cushion full of embroidery floss and stitch some things on. I'm not sure. So this may be a whole new video. If it is, I will tell you more about what this project is in the introduction, or in this, as I work on this. Okay.
I apologize for the shoddy introduction to that, so let me go ahead and tell you a little bit more about what's going on here. I am working on my 100-day project, which is a not precious project, and this is day 27. I think this video is going to cover days 27, 29, and 30. I'll bump in each day and explain a little bit about what is going on. But I have been working on part of this project, at least these days, building a snippet roll. You can see that roll there. I started with putting some papers together. I did some collage on it. I added marks, and now I'm adding additional bits of texture to kind of bulk it up and make it something even more special. And this part, y'all, I did this, like I said, this video is 27, 29, and 30, and then there's going to be days 31, 32, and 33. So this is going to be 2 parts. I was afraid it was going to have to do that, but I didn't realize it took me 6 days to add all these yummy additions. So, and I'm using a variety of things. You saw all of that I pulled out, and I'm sticking them down. So I think I stuck down a bit of a sticker, and then there's some of that fabric I had, and I used some embroidery floss to stitch it on. Now here comes one of these little what are they, y'all? I want to say like ration stickers, but I'm not sure. I think they're somebody out there knows, and if I heard it, I'd be like, yes, that's what it is, but the words are not coming to me. I think those are actually self-adhesive, but I went ahead and used my Oohoo glue stick to stick it down. And then this is a bit of lace. I think that's actually some bias tape lace or hem tape lace, something like that. But I am pulling in lots of bits of fabrics and things like that, just adding actual texture and a little more interest to it. Now, I will tell you now that my pictures for this whole snippet roll are wacky. This little section that I'm working on in this part is actually, I've already used it. I've already put it in a couple projects. One of those you may see, the other one I don't think I have shared. But So I'm going to share pictures as best I can. I will direct you to the posts that I put up on Instagram for these days, because I know that some of them I just did reels, and it's a bit more thorough than the, yeah, than I was able to get in pictures, because some of this I just didn't take pictures because I wasn't thinking about the videos. I was thinking about my Instagram posts, and I know that is horrible. Okay, so this piece of rickrack that I've got here, I knew that it wasn't going to stick real well, so I took it to the sewing machine and stitched it right on to my snippet roll. I do that with a couple different things in this, and I will hopefully tell you about it. Now, I've got all kinds of fun stickers like this that I have saved. These are especially thick, so yeah. And in general, this snippet roll, some of the things that are on it, as I was trying to get pictures here recently, I noticed some of the things are, coming up in different parts and stuff like that. And if they are, that's fine. I will glue them back down or figure out how to use them, if I need to stitch it down or do something else to keep it from coming up. But I'm going to try to talk my way through this one to give you more of an idea of what it is I did with some of these. So this one, I wanted to give it an actual texture, so you can see I'm doing a running stitch through that bit of rust-dyed fabric, and I've made this little clustery bundle something here. It looks like maybe I stuck my, yep. And of course, my thread comes out my needle. That's just how it goes. I have sped this video up quite a bit, y'all, to try to get this video down to a manageable length. It was, oh gosh, like an hour and 20 minutes long, I think, when I started, and so I've sped this up quite a bit and taken out some of the things where I'm fiddling with stuff. Yeah. So, this is some kind of, it almost feels wooden, y'all, but it's got like a measuring tape aspect to it. So, that may be one of those things that I may have to figure out some other way to get it stuck down. I keep saying, I don't mean to. What are those little tickets called? Oh my gosh. They're like grocery tickets, and I keep wanting to say ration coupons, but I know that's not it. Now, this piece of rickrack, I am just sticking down with my Oohoo. I will not be adding the stitching to it, and it's just one of those things. Here's some lace from one of my stashes. It gets the Oohoo treatment. Lots of little bits, and I really like the lace on this, because the lace gives an opportunity for some of the things that are in the background to kind of peek out as well without obscuring them completely. All right, so we're coming to the end of this day here. I'm going to finish up this a little bit, and then I'm going to pop back in and tell you what is coming next in the next day. So stay tuned. Here we go. Hey, it is day 29 of the 100-day project, and I did do something yesterday that I was completely exhausted from the events of the last couple days, so I just stuck a couple things down real quick and said, let it be. I did something on here. I didn't even share it on Instagram. I'll do that today. But I stuck down this with some stitches and a sticker and this bit of collage and that bit of collage and this part of a fabric ruffle. I don't know if you can see all of that, but that's where I am. So I'm going to roll this up a little bit and get started on day 29. I'm not going to go super far, but see, I need to stick it down maybe a little bit better, because the whole rolling of this, all of this wants to pop up. I think I'm going to have to figure out a better way to do some of this. Anyway, I'm going to stick these things down, do what I need to do for today, and have at it. I'm still fairly exhausted, so we'll see what I can get done. So apparently I did work on my snippet roll for day 28. I just didn't film it. I had to go look at my calendar to figure out exactly what it was that had been exhausting me. And the local arts and crafts festival was going on then, and I wouldn't say worked. I did a demo for 2 of the days at the gallery where I sell some of my jewelry and art and cards and things like that. And so, yeah, and it was a couple of long days because leading up to it, even I was prepping for it and all of that. So that explains a lot of this. So these next couple days should be a little bit better because I think this was the last day of the festival. And I think, all right, so as you saw here, I stuck down some what is that? I fixed what I had done on day 28, and then I've got that was like a label maybe for a cigar box or something like that. So it was fairly thin. And then one of those, that ticket, I said, I really like that bright red ticket. And I was kind of going with a red theme here, which is a little odd because I had started off trying to keep this snippet roll in a fairly neutral tones and colors that I knew that I would work with, but in here we kind of start leaning a bit more into red, which I was like, okay, well, we'll go with it. But that ticket was fairly thick. I did try to peel off, you may have seen that, try to peel the back off, but it just didn't work. So I was like, okay, whatever, we're just going to stick it down. And like I said a minute ago, if it pops back up when I'm working on it, then that's just what it is. I'll just have to deal with it. Now, so far, most of what I've been sticking down has been with the Uhu glue stick. I know that here in a little bit, I do start turning to the Fabri-Tac. I think this, maybe not this. At some point, I know I use the Fabri-Tac, because it gets a little messy at some point, but that's okay. It's okay. The snippet roll, I really plan to use as kind of like background bits and things. Have I mentioned it yet? What I've used that little bit in? I know it was a art journal page, part of a stack, and then in the background for a couple of soldered pendants that I did. Did I do those as part of the 100-day project? I did one of them. It's part of the 100-day project, and like went ahead and made others because when I solder in batches. I don't do just one thing. So here, like I said, I brought all that red in. So I'm using some red embroidery floss here and making a little cluster of French knots. Now I do love me French knots, and it like much of this adds quite a bit of yummy texture to this snippet roll. So yeah, in the pictures I did get that. So from this point on, I have pictures because it's not portions I had used or had used. I could take pictures, but I will tell you guys, it's really hard to take pictures of a snippet roll because it flops and wants to roll and is difficult. So I've done my best, and yeah, and look, even working with it, I was like slowly working off the page. Now here, and some of the point of adding stitching to some of this has been to secure things down for some point, but there's no reason that those stitches can't be fun and pretty in addition to adding all that texture. So you can see I am securing the back of the stitches where I put the knots and everything with masking tape just to make sure it doesn't fray up. When I stick it down later, if that masking tape is coming up, I can of course stick it back down. And here again, another sticker. And even though it is sticky, I am re-securing it with the glue stick. So just trying to cover all my bases. So, I know I'll have some work to do later, but it helps me out a little bit. I've got this little bit of blue floral tape, and y'all see it's just a tiny little piece, and I'm gonna stick it down. This is my problem, is I keep all of these little bits of things that I don't have to keep, but I keep them because I'm like, well, I could use it in something. And I am finding that the snippet roll or, the projects like this are a great way to like take that bunch of scraps and just stick it somewhere. In fact, I was just thinking yesterday about this project and that I didn't include as much fabric in it as I thought, and how fun it would be to basically quilt my own stitching roll. Now, here was another example of where I took the snippet roll to my sewing machine, and when I did, I found that some of the paper I had secured down really well in the back, so I made sure I did that with masking tape. And I've got this little bit of vintage rickrack out, and what I brought in there a second ago, y'all, was it's just transparent tape or cello tape or whatever you want to call it, scotch tape, the shiny kind, that I put a couple different shades of brown alcohol ink on it to make it look like old tape. It does add like a shiny factor to things, but I think if I wanted to take the shine away from it, I could put some matte medium on top of it, and that would sure enough take the shine off. So that's all that was. All right, so I'm digging back in that box. And do you see what that is? That is a, I don't even know what denomination, but it's a coin roll that was in that box of things that I got from Madison of Mad Dog. And here, for the first time, I am finally realizing that I ought to be inking this stuff. So I've got some walnut stain distress ink on that ink blender, and I'm aging some of these things. But and y'all, I don't know why I didn't think to do it in the days before, or why in the middle of this day it hit me to do it. But a lot of the stuff is going to get inked from here on out. So yeah. And that is it for this day. We're going to go on to day 30.
Hello, it is day 30 of the 100-day project, the 100-day project, and my hashtag not precious project. I'm continuing to add precious and not precious things. I'm adding things to this snippet roll, which contains lots of little precious bits. The paper especially that I have used is precious, or was not precious. Because I'm trying to work through it. I may have to change this under paper soon so y'all can see what I'm doing. But anyway, it's day 30. I'm gonna work on a bit more of this, and yeah, we'll see how this goes.
So I've pulled back in my little metal container, my tin of different things, and some stamps. These are a collection of stamps. I think I might have 2 of them that I picked up at a yard sale, and I stuck one of those down. It's got a pretty picture. That is going to be very hard to use as a background material and not as a focal for something, but hopefully I can get over it. I am trying for many of these things to kind of tear them down and remind myself that they're not precious, and that it's okay. It's all okay. All right, again, I'm using my Oohoo glue stick. I've got little bits of things I'm sticking down. There's that coin roll thing. I remembered to ink it. So yay me. And I hope y'all are enjoying this process. I'm sorry that this portion of this had to be broken into 2 parts, but you can see this video is over 20 minutes long, and I just couldn't bear to do 2 days a 40 to hour long video. So I was like, you know what, we're just gonna break it up, and hope that y'all are okay with that. So more tickets, more lace, and you can see in this one I did, in some cases I'm putting, especially with lace, I have a hard time getting the glue stick to go along it without getting it pretty much everywhere. So putting it straight onto my roll and then sticking that lace down is kind of perfect. All right, so apparently I think my battery must have died there while I was working with that little bit of some kind of hem tape. And I've got this trim tape, which is interesting. It's like a fringy trim. And I decided to bring in the stitching again. So I'm sticking it down a little bit with that Oohoo and then going to stitch it. The Oohoo just is there to kind of tack it in place while I work on it. It's one of those things I should do more often rather than getting so fiddly and trying to hold things down like I do, but this worked fine. And I don't think I did any kind of particular pattern or anything. In this case, really just getting the stitches to hold it was more important than actually adding texture, because the way that trim was made, it had some like white stitches on it. So that off-white thread was kind of perfect. Pulling through that little packet of things. This is some rust-dyed fabric that, yeah, it's just going to get stuck down in a spot. Now, in some cases where I'm sticking some of these things is important, and some of it is just to cover up like the edges of things and to fill in spaces where there's not a whole lot of texture somewhere. Now here's that tape I was talking about before that is, like I said, it's just cheap. It's probably just, I think it is just Dollar Tree transparent tape that I'm stuck onto some palette paper. You could also use like wax paper or something like that that you know you'll be able to peel up, and I just put alcohol inks on it and yeah, enjoyed that process. All right, so now you can see I am, to control the making of the snippet roll, I am using a clothespin at one end to roll up the parts I've already done. And at the other end, because I do have the snippet roll on that big spindle, I've got a bit of a jar. It's what is it? An acrylic ink jar that's underneath it to keep that from rolling around. So use what you have, people. All right, what have I stuck down there? I've put a little bit of lace and and I've decided to add in a button here. So this is the first button I think I've put in here, and y'all, I do love my buttons. And I think once I put this button in on this day, the coming days, you'll see a few more buttons in the snippet roll. So I am trying to add in all the little bits of happy. I do put a little bit of thread behind it, just kind of randomly, to give it a little more texture and let it pop. And here's where I start bringing in the Fabri-Tac to stick that down. I could have stitched the button on, but you know, I think it already had some thread in it that I was trying to maintain and not get too fiddly about it. I could cut the thread out, but why not let that be part of the texture too? So, yeah. Now, what have I got? I'm going through that little thing again, and here's another one of, this is for sure a cigar like wrap thing, and I'm sticking it down right there. That's more of that red being brought in, which is kind of odd. Now, there's another thing I'm trying to do, but not doing really great, is remembering to position things facing different directions, so it's not all facing down the roll or at me. And you can see here I've got both that stamp and the cigar label kind of positioned facing down the roll, and I every once in a while have to remind myself to like turn something in different directions, and hopefully you'll see some of that as it goes on. Oh, and I don't know if you saw my watch there. I had a timer set to make sure that I could spend all day working on this because I was really enjoying the process, but I wanted to make sure that I gave myself like a stopping point. So when that timer goes off, I finish whatever it is I'm doing, and then yeah, I can come back to it the next day. I think that number 2 there, I was able to peel off the back of it to make it a little bit thinner. And I remembered I had these reinforcers from Tim Holtz, which are fun little accents. Y'all, I've been saving those for ages and ages too, because why? I don't know. They're too precious. All right, I am coming here to the end of day 30, and I'm going to give you the looks that I can give you, the pictures I can of this. Like I said, head over, I'll have the links below to the Instagram pictures and reels where you can also see some of that. And yeah. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, guys, I will see y'all later. Bye.